entitled is entitled Ashtanga Yoga, or the eight-limb yoga system. It is also called Dhyana Yoga, with a basic emphasis on this. Dhyana Yoga is basically the emphasis on controlling the mind and senses. So, uh, the Lord also mentions that this is a very difficult process in Kali Yuga. Generally, this was practiced in Satya Yuga, where people would go to a forest or a mountain, and where there would be a lot of silence, there is no noise, and then meditate and so forth. In Kali Yuga, Srila Prabhupada mentioned that this is practically not possible. So, one important point to start with is in the previous chapter, the Lord has concluded with the point that uh, one way, there are many ways of the ultimate goal for all these processes is to attain liberation. And there are many processes for that: karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, and bhakti yoga, and all of there. So, in this particular sloka, there is reference to Nishkam Karma Yoga. That means in Karma Yoga, there are two types of yoga. One is Sakama Karma Yoga, where we expect results, and the other one is Nishkama Karma Yoga, not expecting results. So the previous chapter ended with Bhoktaram Janna Tapasam Sarvaloka Mahesham, with that is Nishkama Karma Yoga. And though this chapter is entitled Dhyana Yoga, it starts with Nishkama Karma Yoga. This means that it's a progressive step. One can directly take one can take a step-by-step process, or one can take a process like a lift. I mean, one may want to climb, if there are 10 floors, it is easier to go by lift. Otherwise, if one doesn't want to take a lift, not everybody might want to go on lift. So one can go through process, that is karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, and gradually proceed to bhakti yoga, and ultimately attain liberation. So in this also, there are different schools which teach different aspects. For example, we have different types of schools, like I mean, I'm not updated on the schooling system now, but during my days, there used to be SSLC, then there used to be CBSE, then there used to be defense school. In all these areas, the fundamental curriculum will be the same, but there may be some additional subjects to facilitate the student to learn more. This is how. But ultimately, the point is that one who studies this, then he has to appear for exam. Then after that, he becomes eligible to get a job and so forth. So here the goal is liberation, getting freedom from the material miseries and from the cycle of birth and death. So we see that Nishkama Karma Yoga was discussed in the previous chapter, and that continues in this chapter also. Now, everyone has to perform some duty. One cannot say that I don't want to do duty, I'm giving up everything, and I will take sannyas. This is a general misconcept that is prevailing in the common man's mind. Um, when we have taken birth here, we have to do some work. Most of them have their family and their other paraphernalia, like house, this, that, so many things are there. So if somebody doesn't have a family, still he has to work for his sustenance. People might say that, oh, he has got some hereditary property, so if he doesn't work. Now, if one doesn't work, the whole material world has been created in such a way that everyone has been given a task, to a duty to perform. That is why the Varnasrama system has been established. We'll come to this a little bit later, but then one cannot escape from performing his duty. That is the most important point, which starts here. So one has to perform duty, and if one performs duty, then the question is, what about the results? Now, nobody will perform their duty without expecting any result. And that is the reason for bondage in this material world. Because the moment you perform a duty, then automatically you get some results. And what happens is that you are bound by the results of the activities that you perform. And these activities may vary: karma, karma, vikarma, which we already discussed in the previous chapters. So we have to do duty, and then there are results that one gets from all these. So there is some self-interest in all these work, and one does not work without a self-interest. So there is some sort of a sense gratification. It could be concentrated or it could be extended. Now, concentrated sense gratification could be satisfying one's own senses, and extended sense gratification go to first to family, and then one may have develop some this thing to society. One may want to do some work for the society, which further extends to nation and so forth. So there is some impetus to work, and generally what happens is that when the result is good, then the person is happy, and when the result is not good, then the person is unhappy. So particularly those who are working in corporates, they expect yearly appraisal and all those things. Very eagerly they wait. Next month is my appraisal, and then what will happen after the appraisal? I will get increment or not, I will get position or not. This is a general anticipation about a person who is working in a corporate environment. Similarly, a person who is conducting his own business, he may be wondering at the end of the year how much income will be there, how much of tax I may have to pay, how much I have to bribe I have to pay. These are all areas which always are a cause of concern for everyone. So work has to be done. Work means anxiety, results, etc. The Lord Himself says in Bhagavad Gita, Karmanyavadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. That means it is your right to perform your duty, but you have no right to ask for the results of that. And it is that work only, the result of that work only, that actually keeps us bound in this material world. And then what happens is that when there is a result, there are different types of results one gets in different types of ashramas. For example, if somebody is unmarried, not married, if somebody gives him a prasadam, what happens is that he likes to distribute to his closest friend, maybe. But the moment one gets married, then what happens is the taste automatically changes. So if somebody gives him prasadam, the first thing he would like to do is go and give it to his wife and then to children and all. So this is an ongoing thing. But the point is that there is some impetus for everyone to work. Otherwise, why should somebody work? Now you have a problem here. You cannot live without working. And if you work, there are reactions. Then the actual perfection of work is to act in Krishna consciousness. That is a karma. So karma is there where results are there. Vikarma is there where if you perform vikarma, then you go to hellish planets. So only way to do is the perfection of that karma is to act in Krishna consciousness with a motive not to enjoy the fruits of work. You give the results to the Lord. And not only that, it is not very easy. So what one has to do is one has to become attached to the results of the work. So we have an expectation, but we have to give up that attachment to the result of the work. Whatever result you get from that work, that you should offer it to the Lord. That is the important point in this sloka. Even after one comes to performing devotional service, which is an quite important aspect in the process, people tend to have a desire to get results from that bhakti yoga also. For example, many might think that I'm doing chanting so many rounds for so many years. I should get some position. When I get some position, I will get some power. Then I will get some name. I will get some fame. That is also an expectation. And real bhakti yoga is not that. We'll come to this a little later. So one has to become unattached to the results of the work. So it is easy to offer the results of one's karma to the Lord naturally rather than becoming unattached to the result of the work, which is a slightly difficult task. So, how do we do this? Now, the main point of understanding is that whatever work we perform, for example, we take this human body which we have, the body is given by the Lord, the senses are given by the Lord. Whatever desire you have, that is fulfilled by the Lord. So, the work is the capability or the ability to perform a particular work that also is given by the Lord. So, if you have that understanding, which also was a concluding part of the previous chapter, Bhoktaram Yajna Tapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. That means if you have a perfect understanding of that sloka, whatever you do, if you offer it to the Lord, that gives you a peace of mind which we are all looking for. But that's not what we want to do. Generally, we want to do what we want to do. But Shastras say, Bhagavad Gita says that the Lord says, you give the results to me by which you become free from that bondage. So when we know that our body belongs to the Lord, the ability to deliver a particular work is also given by the Lord. There may be two people in an organization or in any activity you take. You take any sports activity. Two people may be there. One may be able to perform well in that sport. The other person may not be able to perform well. So the success of that this thing depends on so many things: individual activity, joint activity, so forth. And in joint activities, it's all the more complex because we see many times some teams perform very well and they become world number one, but they are not able to sustain that position. Even the same team may be there, they may not be able to sustain that position of number one. They may fail, they may lose. So all these are these things that not dependent on us. We have to depend on the Lord for that. So if the Lord gives us some results, it is the Lord's mercy that we have. And if we have not been able to do a particular work based on expectation, that also is Lord's mercy. And that depends on our karma, desire. So many things are there. So there is something called entitlement. uh, for example, many might want to go to heavenly planets, for which they may perform so many sacrifices, homa, and all those things. But that is also mentioned in this purport. The Brahmanas have different types of yajnas to be performed because that is their duty. So the Brahmanas cannot say that I will not perform this homa. They have to perform, and that is for the welfare of the society. So when they perform the homa, then that is also a purificatory process. Uh, but I mentioned there are different types of processes: karma yoga, jnana yoga, dhyana yoga, and then bhakti yoga. Now, when we discuss about this process, if someone becomes perfect in karma yoga, he may reach the state of jnana yoga. And if somebody then becomes perfect in jnana yoga, then he may reach the state of dhyana yoga, which is what this chapter is about. And if somebody becomes perfect in dhyana yoga, he may reach the stage of bhakti yoga. Now, in all these activities, the one common factor that is there is yoga. Yoga means linking with the process. In the karma yoga, we do the work, but then we offer the results to Krishna. So that is one important point. By offering the results to Krishna, we don't become attached to the result of that work. Otherwise, you are bound. In Jnana Yoga, people might read scriptures, so many scriptures they might read, and finally may come to a conclusion that the Lord is not is an Lord is impersonal, impersonal, and he might have a desire to enter into that Brahma Jyoti. That is also not right because that Brahma Jyoti is something like a glowing effulgence coming out from the body of the Lord, and it covers the body of the Lord. So in that Brahma Jyoti, there is no activity, but our duty is to perform some activity being part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. That is also mentioned in this purport. We are all part and parcel with the Supreme Lord. So, just like a hand is supposed to serve the body is the whole, and that hand is just a part of the whole body. Similarly, the hand cannot say that I will eat food with my own self because we eat with our hand. The hand has to put the food into the mouth, which is also a part of the body. Then the food goes into the digestive system, which that gives nourishment to the rest of the parts of the body. Similarly, we are all part and parcel of the body. When we say part and parcel, here we are talking about the soul, which is a small, very small part and parcel, which we have discussed. We will not go into that. So, being a part and parcel of the Lord, it is the constitutional position of the soul to serve the super soul. That is an important point. So, if that soul doesn't, we have got a body and we have to utilize that body. The body is functioning only because the presence of the soul. If the soul is not there, then the body cannot function. So we have given a particular type of body, and particularly from the human form of life to upward, it is for us to understand that it is the duty of the part and parcel to serve the supreme whole. So we have to utilize this body in one of these processes, and uh, perfect in that process, and finally attain perfection through bhakti yoga, and get liberation. So, though this chapter is entitled as Dhyana Yoga, the Lord concludes this chapter by uh, uh, a very important sloka, which is now you might have heard, Yoginam Api Sarvesham Madgadinantaratmanam. That means the Lord says of all the people who perform yoga, the best of the one is one who always remembers the Lord through bhakti. Now, we cannot remember the Lord without practicing this bhakti. Now, karma yoga also cannot be performed without bhakti. There is a tinge of bhakti that is required. Jnana yoga also cannot be performed without bhakti, because one should know ultimately Bhoktaram Yajna Sapasam Sarvaloka Mahesham, that Lord is ultimate goal of life. Similarly, Dhyana Yoga, uh, people meditate in Satya Yoga. People used to go to forest and used to meditate for thousands of years. Examples are there in Srimad Bhagavatam of Shaubharya Muni, who performed tapasya Dhyana Yoga underwater. And like that, similar many examples are there. Uh, but that process is also not possible in Kali Yuga because people are generally disturbed. But those who perform this Dhyana Yoga, they meditate, they close their eyes halfway, uh, the vision is focused on the tip of the nose. All these are very difficult in this Kali Yuga. So there are two things that are important that is there. So one is Nishkama Karma Yoga, by which one becomes unattached to the result of the work. But that is not the end process, because after Karma Yoga, one has to reach a stage of Jnana Yoga, and then one may have to come to the point of Ashtanga Yogis. The point of the goal of Ashtanga Yogis is somehow to control the mind by the eightfold yoga system. There are plenty of slokas which are coming forth. We'll not go into the depth of all these things. But in Kali Yuga, that process is also not effective. But Srila Prabhupada mentions to act in Krishna consciousness, or to do every activity as a service to Krishna, is the right way of performing a duty, because we are all part and parcel of Supreme Lord. So the parts have to work for the satisfaction of the whole body. So the limbs of the body do not act for self-satisfaction, but for the satisfaction of the complete whole. Similarly, it is our duty to work for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, even in Bhakti Yoga. So by practicing Bhakti Yoga, we cannot claim that I'm chanting, I'm doing this. Ultimately, we have to do everything for the satisfaction of the Lord. So if somebody is cooking, that cooking also has to be done for satisfying the Supreme Lord, not for our personal satisfaction. That one who does like this is a perfect sannyasi. A sannyasi is not defined by wearing a saffron cloth and giving up the duties. Because generally people think that this world is very complicated, so I don't want to do any duty. I'll rather take sannyasi and give up and go to the forest. The real sannyasi is not one of taking a stand like that. A real sannyasi is one who performs his duty in whatever ashrama he may be, but becoming unattached to the results of that work. So has got a duty, and that is he has to perform his duty. So the example I gave about brahmanas who are supposed to perform sacrifices and for the benefit of the society, they cannot say no. So the brahmanas may reach a system of Brahman, which is the impersonal Brahma Jyoti. Now, the Lord also created this Varnashrama system so that one can gradually, step by step, progress and reach the stage of sannyasi. That is, ultimate goal of a sannyasi is to give up the results of the work, which is the cause of the binding factor in this material world. Similarly, the mystic yogis, they also have I mentioned about impetus to do something. So the mystic yogis who practice the yoga system, eightfold yoga system, with 8 limbs and so forth, they do this with half open eyes. They cease all material activities. They also have a desire, and that is generally to attain some mystic power. By performing meditation for many, many thousands of years, one might get some mystic power. That is also mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. One might get power by which one can become smaller than the smallest and become bigger than the biggest. Or one can fly from one planet to the other planet. Like it is said that the residents in Siddhaloka, they can fly without any aircraft also. We have to fly if we have to go from one place to other. Either we have to take some more mode of transport, train or aircraft and so forth. But the residents of Siddhaloka, they all have their own aircrafts, and they fly. The ways of traveling is without an aircraft also. So, how do we get free from all this? I think the conclusion is that a person acting in Krishna consciousness works for the satisfaction of the whole without any self interest. A Krishna conscious devotee does not have any desire for sense gratification. His criteria of performing service is satisfaction of Krishna. And that person, even if he is situated in ashrama of brahmachari or a grihastha or a vanaprastha, he is the perfect sannyasi, not the one who gives up his duty and says that I have taken sannyas and I'm not doing any duty. A real sannyasi is one who performs his duty and offers the result uh, to the Lord. He's not only a perfect sannyasi, he is also a perfect yogi, because like I mentioned, a yogi is one who performs yoga, dhyana yoga, which is the focus of this chapter, to control the mind and the senses. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was here 500 years back, he gave a very simple process which is applicable in Kali Yuga. He said the highest perfectional system or symbol of renunciation is, and there's a close sloka from Shikshashtaka which you might have heard, Nadanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmani ishware bhavatad bhaktir ahaitukhi tvai. It says, O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor to enjoy beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. What I want is the costless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. So the Lord did not say anything about karma yoga. He says that I have no desire to attain wealth. He also said, no beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. Like I mentioned, once we reach a particular stage, even in bhakti, many times people think that I must have many followers. But here the Lord says is that what I want is only the costless mercy of your devotional service in my life, birth after birth. That means even devotional service cannot be performed without the Lord's mercy. So we need the Lord's mercy, for which we constantly chant the holy name of the Lord. So when we chant, the Lord gives, that is the main purpose of chanting is to be engaged in service, but that also to be done for the satisfaction of the Lord. So the Lord likes a particular dress. That is all these descriptions are given in the Shastras. So we perform bhakti yoga also for satisfaction of the Lord, of the Lord. So devotees use everything that they have, whether material assets or material body or their senses, for the satisfaction of service and satisfaction of Krishna. In fact, Srila Prabhupada gives often a very nice quote where he says, "What is it that you have that you can give it up?" So if a sannyasi says that I'm giving up everything, Srila Prabhupada always quoted, there is nothing you have, because after all, everything belongs to Krishna. So, and everything has to be used in the service of Krishna. So what is it that one has that he can say that he will give it up? So there is nothing we can give it up, because everything belongs to Krishna and has to be used in the service of Krishna. So Srila Rupa Goswami also state in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, where there is a very nice sloka. It starts with Anasakta Vishyan. There's no time, but for the to recite the sloka, but I'll read the translation. When one is not attached to anything, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, one is rightly situated above possessiveness. On the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not as complete in his realization. I'll take 2 more minutes to explain this sloka. That means if one is not attached to anything, that means again the point is we should not be attached, but at the same time accepts everything in relation to Krishna, he is rightly situated above possessiveness. That means we cannot reject anything, but we have to accept everything in relationship to Krishna. So everything is created by Krishna. We have to accept it in relation to Krishna. And that understanding brings us above the possessiveness. Now, what we have in the material world is this is mine, this is I, this is mine. So this I and mine is something we have to overcome in this human form of life. So we don't have this, but we think that everything is in relation to Krishna, it belongs to him, then that question of I and mine does not come at all. Then the translation for the next part, it explains, on the other hand, one who rejects everything without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna is not complete in his renunciation. That means if we reject, no, 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 I don't want this, I don't want that, I don't want this, I can't take this, that is not perfect renunciation if one rejects it without knowledge of its relationship to Krishna. For example, somebody may not like a bitter, something bitter. If we say, no, 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 I don't want anything bitter, but the bitter thing is also given by the Lord for a particular purpose. So you cannot say that I'm leaving anything bitter. Now that bitter thing is also given by Krishna with a particular purpose. So we must understand that that bitterness is also, the Lord himself says in Bhagavad Gita, is the taste of everything, it is the taste of water. So if we understand that, yes, it has got its relationship to Krishna, then we don't reject it. We use it in the service of Krishna. So if we offer, we may make an item out of bitter gourd and offer it to Krishna. That is perfect understanding of renunciation, not giving it up. So with this, I conclude the class for the day. If any of you have got any questions or comments, I can take one question.